Good Will Hunting is an American drama film from 1997. It was directed by Gus Van Sant, produced by Lawrence Bender, and stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, and the late Robin Williams. This movie tells the story of a young boy named Will Hunting, who is deemed problematic because of his upbringings. However, he is actually a mathematical genius who can easily solve difficult equations that even students from MIT had problems with. As we follow the life of Will, there are many notable issues within the movie, but the most prominent ones are how a lack of family support or family foundation can heavily impact a student's life, how someone's socio-economic status can influence their education, and how people perceive them, and finally, the importance of an educator's support of their students. The importance of this movie is to explain the global issue of how children from problematic backgrounds and poor socio-economic status are also talented and not just a waste of resources. Meanwhile, the movie is impactful as it shows how the way you were brought up can influence your life. In the context of this movie, Will Hunting was an orphan who lived with an abusive foster father. Because of this, he missed out on so many opportunities because of his problems. This can be further explained in the 5 scenes that I will be showing.
Sorry.
What do you do?
Sorry.
That's people's work. You can't graffiti here.
In the first scene, it shows Will solving a mathematical equation left by the university professor. At this time, Will was working as a janitor at the university as a part of his parole sentence. As we can see, Professor Gary thought that Will was vandalizing someone's work just because he was a janitor and did not think much of him. Unknowing to him, Will was the one to actually solve the problem that none of his students were able to. This relates back to the second issue where someone's economic status influences how people perceive them. Because Will was just a janitor, the professor did not take him seriously, although he can be classified as a genius. This relates to real life as well, where people judge you based on your education and how much money you can make from your job.
You're just a kid. You don't have the faintest idea what you're talking about.
Why, thank you.
It's all right. You've never been out of Boston.
Nope.
So if I asked you about art, you'd probably give me the skinny on every art book ever written. Michelangelo. I know a lot about him. Life's work, political aspirations, him and the Pope, sexual orientation, the whole works, right? I bet you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel.
In the second scene, Will is talking with his therapist Sean. Sean is explaining how Will is still young and does not have much experience in life. He only knows things he reads in books while not knowing the full nature of the subject. Many students these days apply to this specific situation. Students tend to only focus on studying or reading the theories of the subject without actually experiencing the practicality of it. Because of this, they lack life experience that will be useful for them in the future.
In the 1960s, there was a young man graduated from University of Michigan. Did some brilliant work in mathematics, specifically bounded harmonic functions. Then he went on to Berkeley, was assistant professor, showed amazing potential. Then he moved to Montana, and he blew the competition away.
Yeah, so who was he?
Ted Kaczynski.
I've heard him.
Hey, Timmy,
Yo,
who's Ted Kaczynski?
Unabomber.
The third scene shows Professor Jerry and Sean arguing about Will's future. Jerry personally wants to push Will into becoming successful by forcing him to have a stable career, while Sean believes that he is not ready yet for such commitment and they should wait for him to move at his own pace. This scene is important because it shows how certain educators do not care about the welfare of their students as long as they have a successful career. Jerry does not want to wait for Will to be ready and is pushing him into a future he does not want by asking Sean to talk to him about it. Many students experience this at school, as teachers force the idea of having a career at an early age as a sign of successfulness. However, they are not aware how it can emotionally damage their students.
He can handle the problems. He can handle the work, and he obviously handled you.
Jerry, listen to me. Listen. Why is he hiding? Why doesn't he trust anybody? Because the first thing that happened to him, he was abandoned by the people who were supposed to love him the
Oh,
most.
come on, don't give me that Freud. crap.
No, listen, Jerry. And why does he hang out with those retarded gorillas, as you call them? Because any one of them, if he asked them to, would take a fucking bat to your head, okay? That's called loyalty.
Yeah, it's very touchy.
And who's he handling? He pushes people away before they have a chance to leave him. It's a defense mechanism, all right? And for 20 years, he's been alone because of that. And if you push him right now, it's going to be the same thing all over again, and I'm not going to let that happen to him.
Scene 4 is yet again another argument between Jerry and Sean. Jerry is purposely choosing to ignore Will's problems because he believes that by pushing aside all the issues Will is facing, he can become successful with his life. However, Sean disagrees as it will only hurt him more in the long run. We can see the juxtaposition in their views when it comes to personal problems and how it will impact a student's life. Sean knows that by forcing Will to fit a certain role, it will only break him more, as he already has personal baggage that he carries around with him from his childhood. Just like Jerry, not many teachers care enough about this aspect of a student's life and believes that they are still young, therefore, they should not have much problems compared to adults and should only focus on getting a good education or career.
It's not your fault. Look at me, son. It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
I know.
No, you don't. It's not your fault.
The last scene is one of the most impactful in the movie. Sean is telling Will that everything that happened to him in life is not his fault. This is powerful because many students don't have that type of support, especially when they are brought up in a rough household without functional parents. Sean was the parent figure that Will never had, and hearing such words of affirmation heavily helped him in dealing with his issues. Teachers should know that simple phrases such as "good job" or "you did okay" can really impact their students, as they might only hear those words from their teachers. One change this movie has brought into my life is that I shouldn't let people pressure me to fit a certain role when it comes to my future. I should be the one to choose the pace I want to go in, as well as when I should start a career, because I know best when it comes to myself. I highly recommend this movie to everyone, especially teachers who want to learn how to get to know their students better, as it gives an insight of how to deal with the students and their problems.